Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Bree. I live in Kansas Zone 7A, and today I'm going to give you a tour of my backyard garden here in the month of July. July and August, my garden hits full peak. If you can't tell, we really just started to hit that peak. But over the next 4 weeks, the garden is going to be one of my favorite times of the year. By the time we hit mid-August, the garden's been hit with so much heat and humidity, it does start to die back and have a little bit more sickness. So this is when everything looks so green, and I am just loving it. This year, I put melons on these trellises instead of tomatoes, and my trellises have never looked this amazing at the beginning of July, and I am loving it. But there's so much to show you guys today. I've been getting tomatoes out of the garden. The onions are on the very edge. I've already harvested about 20 onions, but let me stop spoiling it and let's just go ahead and jump right into the garden tour. So my front trellis here is cantaloupe. This is Howell's Best Jumbo. This is a cantaloupe variety that I've grown for the last 2 years. I saved the seeds 2 years ago, and these are the seeds I've saved. These melons have done so well for me. These cantaloupes are so big. Normally the first few are so large. They're bigger than my head. They are really good sized cantaloupes, and they taste so good. We have so many cantaloupes actually setting fruit. I'm going to get my melon cradles out and probably put my melon cradles on later, because these are looking like they are going to start needing some support. They are growing so fast. Melons grow so quickly once they really set the fruit. But let me show you guys these because they look so good, and these are one of my favorites. So right here we have 2 already, and they're already such a good size, but we have those 2 there. Here's another one. So there's 3. There's a small one right there already. There's one that's a bit smaller. Those ones down there looked like this about a week ago. On this side, there's another smaller one. Here's another pretty good sized one right in the front. A smaller one, an itty bitty one. There's a few bigger ones over here too. There's another really good sized cantaloupe as well. So along the front, I have Goldie Honey Bear sunflowers. This time last year, I already had some of these blooming, but they were volunteers. These ones look like they're going to be a bit smaller for me, honestly, because they're already starting to form their heads and everything, but I still think they look really, really good with the trellis space here. So the last few years I've done tomatoes on my trellises. They're just not as full, and I really wanted a really full year. I also have a bunch of herbs I need to actually get onto preserving. So this is parsley, rosemary, mint, echinacea is over here. This is a type of hibiscus called zinker hibiscus, and I've been doing this for tea. And then I just have some zinnias and some lavender, and all of that also mirrors. I have random cosmos on both sides of the trellis space as well. These are my Queen Orange Lime zinnias. The one thing I love about this series is no one of them looks the same, even from the same seed packet. So we have these ones, which this like deep red color is probably one of my favorites that comes out of the package. Then we have more of this like peachy tone that has just different variations really. I really like how these ones look a little bit more sunsetty when they get more full. And these ones over here are more peach, maybe a little bit more yellow, but really, really pretty flowers as well. And I already do have my first sunflower bloom. By the way, this is a lavender called Elegance Lavender, and is a first bloom lavender. I've never been able to really get nice blooms off my lavender because if we have a really cold winter here, it tends to not overwinter well, and I have to start over a lot of the time. So I'm really excited about this. I mean, it is smaller still, but I'm really excited to see what it will do. I've harvested some off of it, and it smells really nice. So if you have ever had issues with lavender, maybe try this one because I've been really liking it. This is where all of the garlic was, and now the garlic is fully cured. It cured pretty quickly. We had a really hot June. It cured in about 3.5 weeks. And now I already have corn going, I have okra going, and then I also have zucchini going. So I wrapped my zucchini in insect netting. That seems to help me at least with squash bugs and also vine borer. I have these metal frames that we bent from Bootstrap. We just bought these metal rods from, I believe, Home Depot or Lowe's, and then we have a bender, and I have like 5 or 6 of these, and they're very sturdy, especially just for our windy conditions and things like that. This is something I want to use a lot more come this fall and winter to try to maybe overwinter. Just a few more things. I do plan to plant a good amount of broccoli and cabbage. I started those seeds already for the fall garden. All of this stuff was just planted in this space, what, about like 3 weeks ago, maybe a little over 3 weeks, but roughly 3 weeks ago, and it already looks like this. So things are growing really quickly now that we're just really, really warm. So when it comes to like different things like the hoop, I just love stuff like this because I think it just adds like an extra visual to see, kind of like the strawberry cage and the trellises and like the A-frame trellis and things like that. I just love the different heights and different like textures it brings to the garden. Also, these were the peppers that I put out after the garlic as well. These were the ones I started along with all the other peppers. I just ended up potting them and keeping them under my grow lights for a while. And as you can see, they're doing quite well. So this one here is a banana pepper. This is a paprika pepper. That's the Hungarian Magyar. This is a cayenne, a jalapeno, and then I want to say this one's a snacking pepper. I lost the little tag for that guy, but they're all doing really, really well. I'm really loving the cosmos this year, honestly. So in past years, I've never like just loved them, but I planted a good amount of them out, and I'm just loving the different texture it's bringing, especially with like the zinnias and stuff like that. So I planted this Bright Lights Cosmos. I need to go ahead and deadhead everything. I probably should have done that last night, but I have 2 different varieties. I can't remember what this one is. This was just a random seed packet I had, so I planted them out, and they're really pretty. I think they go really well. But these are also the ones I have over here. These ones are a little less full at the moment. They looked so beautiful like a week ago, but I'm loving this bright light blend. I think it's really, really pretty, and it adds just such a beautiful pop of color right in the front, and I've just been really loving it. Our second wave of strawberries, they're starting to put on more bloom. So I grow ever-bearing strawberries. I can't remember what the one variety is, but the one variety I grew is Ozark Beauty. I'm actually thinking I might look into maybe completely resetting these. I don't know, because out of nowhere, of course, I'm starting to get like the best berries I've ever grown. Some of them are really close, but there's some really good berries on here. I don't think I'm going to pick any at the moment. I want them to ripen up a little bit more, but you can see there's some really, really good looking berries on these plants. So there's not that many, but like I said, they're starting to flower again and put out more flowers. I did thin out this whole bed, I want to say 2-3 weeks ago, and it still looks crazy. I probably need to go through and rip out some of that because we've been really hot and humid. There's a small green berry. So we are starting to get our second wave. These are ever-bearing. The other variety you can get is June-bearing, and it makes sense. They pretty much put on one big amount in June, and ever-bearing kind of gives you multiple harvests throughout the season. Unfortunately, I cannot grow enough strawberries really to preserve anything with. This is enough to eat fresh, maybe throw in something or two. They're still amazing strawberries, but I feel like I would need to grow a minimum of 3 to 4 times the amount to really do anything with my strawberries. But here's all of the onions, and honestly, they may not look as pretty, but they look so good. I'm so excited about these onions. I've already harvested 20. I counted before I came out this morning, but you can see their tops are really starting to flop. I came out last night to double check, and I either may have missed a few or some of them flopped overnight. I'm so excited about these onions though. One of my biggest ones I've already harvested, and they all are just so good. So I've been letting them just kind of clonk out on their own. Really, this week I expect them to be fully out of the garden probably by the end of the week. I give it maybe a few more days to be honest, but they all look really good. So the sign you're looking for is when these onion tops completely flop over and this part of the neck is soft and just is broken at the neck, at that point you can go ahead and harvest it. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the onions. By the way, speaking of, so the garlic is completely cured and I weighed it out. So this year I planted less garlic and got more pounds. Like I was saying, I really felt like it was going to be that year. Wow, these garlic heads were so beautiful. So for instance, last year I grew, I wanna say roughly 175 heads of garlic, and I planted them closer out to about, I wanna say 6 inches between each other. And I got 12.5 pounds of garlic. This year, I had 145 heads of garlic and I had 19.5 pounds at the end of the year. This also ends up mattering with variety because 2 of the varieties I grew this year were larger and you get more weight for what you grow. But that also plays a role. But that amount, oh my gosh, I've already made garlic powder as well. So definitely a huge win with the garlic. And this year, a huge win with the onions. Last year I had a really good year with onions, but I'm telling you, this year is looking so much better and I can't wait to share it with you. So yeah, all of that is coming out this week, and this will actually be a gap just for a small amount. This is where some of my fall stuff will end up going in a few weeks. Some more carrots are gonna go over here. So speaking of carrots though, that's what I have at the end of this little strip, and I need to get the rest of these harvested this week as well. I'm gonna be planting out more carrots over here come the next like 2 weeks. So I need to go ahead and get the final carrots out. So far, I've had some amazing carrots this year. So one thing you might remember is I've had a bunch of carrots along my tomato area over here, and I really like that. So the edging of those garden beds would dry out so much faster, and I really feel like the carrots had to reach for water. Ooh, that's a really good one. So they had to really reach for water, and they grew so fast, and they were some of the most beautiful carrots. But by them drying out and having to reach for water, I really feel like they just were very long, and they were just, I don't know, they were some of the best carrots I've ever grown, and I just grew them along the edging. And that was just a really great use of space as well, and they did really well there. So I'm probably going to do that more, because that worked out really good. But these look so good. This right here is probably one of my favorite views of the garden right now because the trellises just look so beautiful. I love these trellises so much. So they are just cattle panels. You can find them for roughly like $30 now. They used to be closer to $20, but still for a trellis, that is a great deal, especially for something that just brings you so much joy. I'm telling you, add it. You can grow so many different things on them. But yeah, the honeydew is looking so good as well. The honeydew I feel like is a little bit behind the cantaloupe. But this is my first year growing honeydew, and I'm very excited. I did read that, so cantaloupe kind of takes itself off the vine once it's ready, and that's one reason why I love the melon cradles. But apparently honeydew doesn't do that, and you have to cut it off. If you have any honeydew tips, please let me know. This is my first year growing it. Honeydew is one of my favorite melons, and I'm so excited this year to give it a try because cantaloupe has been a game changer. If you like cantaloupe, you have to try to grow it. It's been so easy for me. Melons I don't really care to grow for so far has been watermelons. Actually, I need to give them another shot. If you have your favorite watermelon variety, let me know. But I just wasn't the biggest fan last year when I tried the sugar baby watermelon. So yeah, let me know. Not the biggest fan so far, but let me show you some of the honeydew I've been seeing, because I did just spot this little guy. He looks so cute. Here's another one. I also just have some more herbs over here. I have some more oregano, which is doing absolutely phenomenal now that I'm looking at it closer. I really need to harvest some more of that. That is on the to-do list. I need to apparently have some grass over here growing with my rosemary, so let me pull that out. But the rosemary is doing really well. I also have some more mint over here too. But here's the yarrow and echinacea. I really need to go through and deadhead a lot of this stuff in the yarrow that is dead. I have gotten multiple blooms of the yarrow, but typically it puts on this one really pretty bloom and then it just kind of dies back. I really need to thin it out this year because the echinacea was kind of taken over a little bit. It's still doing quite well, and I planted some more up front. This is all perennial for us. I just have it in this 100-gallon grow bag. And this year, one thing I did was I put T-post around, and I just kind of wrapped it around, and the leaves kind of covered everything up. This really helped with wind and storms, and I really liked doing that. But I love this just very wild look. I love the look of coneflower. I love the bright orange and the purple. And again, with the bright light cosmos, I think it just really brings out those colors together. And I've just been loving it this year. I love all the pops of deep oranges I have. Over winter, I spent a good amount of time being very indecisive on what flowers I wanted to grow, because I just wanted everything to really fit this year. And now that everything is blooming, it's so pretty to see, and I've just been really loving it. But as you might be able to see, my other trellis is also doing quite well. The trellis tunnel is honestly thriving. So my trellis tunnel is 20 feet long. I might make it a little bit longer in the future because at the end of the year, this loofah plant will be all the way down, and it will wrap all the way down at that point. These loofahs go crazy. So I have loofahs planted at the very edge here. I have 2 plants, and again, they go all the way. Loofahs really climb and go long. You can see they're already out to right here. Like, we're already toward the end of the trellis already. So last year, mid-July, I want to say the trellis, the loofah was about to be here. Honestly, we've been so much warmer over June that the garden has just exploded. I really feel like our peak this year started a little bit early compared to last year, because we have been so much warmer. So if you don't know, I have this project where it's a temperature blanket where I'm tracking every single day in the temperature, and I track it on a blanket on the color. And I just did my halfway update, and we've already had, I want to say, I recall, if I'm wrong, I'll put it across the screen, but 13 more days above 60, and we've already had 10 more days above 90. We had so many more days in the 90s in June already. So it's really crazy to see those differences. Overall, this year we've been warmer, even though we've had a crazier swing of temperatures this year. So it's just been really crazy to see the comparison, because I've never really kept track that closely, but that was one reason why I wanted to do the project, so I could really correlate it to the garden. So over here, I also have a bunch of green beans. Green beans kind of start all the way and kind of go mostly all the way down. I also have some cucumber down there and some tomato plants as well, but I wanted to plant a bunch of pole green beans this year. I really wanted to try to have a green bean redemption year. So far this year, I've gotten a good amount of bags in the freezer, and we've been eating on some green beans. So I'm really happy with how these are performing. This is a variety called Seychelles. It's a pole bean variety. It's been doing really well for me. I have a good amount of flowers still going, and these plants should continue to produce throughout the season. Really awesome clusters of really good looking green beans. The loofahs really bring on the bees. They really just love these yellow flowers, and they are always just swarming with different bees. So I have this one here. This one's been on the longest. That'll probably be the first to ripen, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's definitely some small ones on here somewhere, but these plants typically average me about 20 to 25 loofahs per plant. Here's a good looking cluster, another good looking cluster. They have produced so many green beans so far, so I've been loving doing green beans on the trellis. I should probably trellis my tomatoes up a little bit better at this point, but I am able to go ahead and harvest some of my pink bumblebee cherries. I will do this later. I like to throw these on pizza when I'm just getting a few. Actually, I might wait oh no, I will harvest these, because the rain overnight that we're going to get we'll probably end up cracking these. Okay, so here is a little tip when it comes to ripening tomatoes and if you have rain on the way. So if you have rain on the way, it, in my experience, is better to go ahead and pick those tomatoes and let them finish ripening on your counter, because if you get too much water, the skin when a tomato is ripening is a lot thinner, and if you get an influx of water, it can actually cause your skin to crack. Some varieties are more prone to doing this, but in my experience, my cherry tomatoes do this. Some of my paste tomatoes in the past, I've experienced Amish paste. They do this a lot. So if you have a bunch of rain on the way and you have some red tomatoes, in my experience, it's best to go ahead and pull those off. And honestly, I pull off a lot of my ripening tomatoes and I let them finish ripening inside once they've ripened to like the orange stage, just so my plants continue to put energy in other tomatoes and you have less pest pressure, and also birds and squirrels tend to not go after them if you go ahead and pick them when they're in that ripening stage. So there's my little tidbit when it comes to harvesting tomatoes. Oh, and I guess the last thing is I actually will harvest my tomatoes in the evening. So tomatoes are one of those few things I typically won't pick in the morning. I will. I mean, I'll pick it when I need to pick it, but if I have a preference, I typically pick my tomatoes in the evening, because after they experience that warm peak during the day, the sugars kind of condense a little bit, and it's been known just to create a little bit more of a sweeter tomato. So I have a San Marzano here. I did have another one here, but I did end up pulling it. I talked a little bit more about that last week, but I planted a melon here. So this melon I am so excited about. My aunt was recently in Greece and she got these seeds from Greece from a restaurant owner, and they're some type of melon. I don't know what type of melon. It's a mystery melon, and I'm really excited to see what type it will be. It honestly looks like a cantaloupe honeydew, but the translation on the seed packet said dehydrated melon and watermelon, and a lot of melon seeds look very similar. And also noted, I should probably weed my garden later. I'm really excited to show you guys this though. I don't know if you can see how tall this sunflower is or not, but this was a volunteer. And this might be one of the tallest volunteer sunflowers I've ever had. It hasn't even started blooming yet, but I'm 5'6", so if I'm standing beside it, it probably is at least, I would say 9 to 10 feet tall. At this point, this trellis is more than 6. I can't remember feet tall, but it's pretty tall, and I'm really excited about it. I did cut out like a little area I could walk through, just so it wasn't just running into the trellis and causing like disease and airflow. I do need to cut back probably a few more flowers, but I just crawl through and I'm on the other side. It's like a little secret tunnel, but it's super cool and I absolutely love it. I can't wait for this thing to bloom. I have that one sunflower that's bloomed, but I would say my sunflowers are probably going to start really being in peak toward like the 3rd, 4th week of July. That one just grew really fast. That was a variety I thought was going to look different, but I still like it. It's fine. I just love sunflowers. But yeah, this one's going to be really cool. It's going to be really branchy. I almost wonder if this was one of the ones I grew last year called Paint Box Bouquet, I think it was. It was a bunch of these different colors that were just really pretty. So that'd be really cool if it was. I have some pretty good looking jalapenos at the moment, so I'm really excited about this. I want to do a bunch of salsa this year and pickled jalapenos, and it's looking like the jalapenos are just looking really good. I also have some tomatoes over here, but these tomatoes down here is what I wanted to talk about, because I ended up having some blossom end rot. So yeah, I'm dealing with a little bit of blossom end rot, and it's not on all of these plants either. So I expected if I had any problem with any of my soil, it would probably be this. So this is my oldest soil. I've had this soil in these grow bags for 7 years. I did throw some bone meal over here at the beginning of the season, but I'm almost wondering if they needed that a little bit more umph. So Otherwise, I pulled all the fruits off and everything looks like it's doing well. So we'll see. These ones are just giving me a little bit harder of a time. My one area of tomatoes though is so good. Let me show you all the ones we have in the middle strip garden bed. As you can see, they are just flooded with some beautiful aromas. Okay, but seriously, look at these tomatoes. Okay, so the 4 right here is a new variety for me called Inca Jewels. This is supposed to be a good compact variety for containers. I got these seeds from Renee's garden, but they are a Roma paste variety and they have been packing on the fruits. Honestly, really impressed with these plants so far. And then moving on to the center portion, this was a variety I grew last year as well. And these were some of my favorite last year. They did conk out a little bit early because of blight, but they produced a lot of fruit. So I gave them another shot. So this is a variety called Supremo. As you can see, really big, beautiful paste tomatoes. Looks like I have a few back here that I could probably go ahead and harvest later on, but look at that cluster. Seriously, look at that cluster. How beautiful are these tomatoes? Oh, there's another good one back there as well. And then all the Supremos go all the way through here. And then these two back here are also classic Romas. And the classic Romas are planted over here and also this back corner. And these by far are my best looking Roma plant. So I think the soil overall over here is probably better than those two spots, but seriously, look at those clusters of fruits. Like seriously, these are some of the best paste determinate tomato plants I think I have ever grown, and I am so happy with what these are looking like this year. I love growing paste tomatoes. I'm not a tomato eater. I'm not a big fresh tomato eater. I will eat some of my own fresh tomatoes, but even then that's still a rare occurrence. I like tomato products. I like making salsa. I like making sauces. I want to do a bunch of diced tomatoes this year. That was an absolute favorite new canning item I did last year. I love tomato products and I love making tomato products. So growing a paste tomato is really good for canning. An heirloom tomato or a big beefsteak tomato, those are really good for slicing it on tomatoes. They're more watery and a paste tomato is more dense. So if you aren't a tomato eater, in my experience, I've liked the paste tomatoes fresh because they tend to be less watery, deeper in flavor. So if I'm going to eat a fresh tomato, it's probably going to just be one of these. I'm very picky about them, but I am so happy with how these are looking. We are about to be flooded in tomatoes. I already have, I want to say probably close to 20 tomatoes on my counter, and give these plants about another week or two and I'm going to be swimming in tomatoes. So I'm really just going to be starting a lot of my canning. I plan to do a lot of salsa this year, and again, diced tomatoes. Those are the two top things I want to can over the next few months. As the onions are out, the garlic is out, the tomatoes are out, I'll be able to use so much. I think last year I was able to use everything out of my garden but cilantro when it came to the salsa. So I'm really hoping to be able to do that again. Cilantro for me is tricky outside of the fall window, but it's so fun to be able to use so many ingredients from your garden and be able to can something like that, and it's just so special. So really hoping to have a really good tomato year. So far it's looking like me changing the location of the tomatoes is working out quite well. These were in my in-ground space for the last few years and I wanted to move them out of that space. Here I have a volunteer sunflower as well, but the snapdragons are still holding on a little bit. They still add a beautiful little pop of color and just cottagey vibes, and I'm still just absolutely loving them, but they definitely don't look as pretty as they did in the month of June. But I have pockets of basil everywhere, and one thing I keep forgetting to mention, this is a volunteer hyssop plant. I probably shouldn't keep that in there. That's part of the mint family. And this is starting to look like it wants to go to seed. So this is a basil variety called lemon basil, and when you smell this, it honestly smells just like a lemon drop. So I think I want to try to maybe find some recipes that use lemon basil and play around with this. I just had seeds and I wasn't positive on it, so I think I want to play around with it, and it's starting to butt on me a little bit. But I have these 2 plants of lemon basil here, and yeah, I want to play around with them. So moving on to all of my peppers, here in the front I have my cayennes. And this year I really wanted to try to find a variety that was thicker walled. I was really tired of working with cayennes that just had very thin skin and were hard to de-seed if I wanted to create a cayenne powder versus a cayenne flake. So this year I went searching, and this is the red ember from Johnny's. Last year I grew a different one from Johnny's and I absolutely hated it. It was awful. This one I am loving so much. The walls on it are as thick as my paprika peppers, and honestly they were so easy to work with that I really want to keep growing these, and they've been really turning colors as well. I have a few more on this plant and this plant here, but I have 6 or 7 of these cayenne plants, and so far I'm really loving them. I have a few serrano plants, and my serranos are really starting to pick up. I will use a lot of serranos and jalapenos for my salsas. And then I have a good amount of banana peppers putting on. This one got a little bit of sun scald, as you might be able to tell, so let's go ahead and just take that one off. But these banana peppers are just such a good size, and I don't have as many of these. I don't know if I'll be able to do as much with the banana peppers this year as I was maybe hoping, but I do want to at least pickle 1 round of banana peppers. I really love having pickled banana peppers for pizza, and I didn't pickle any last year, and I'm on my last little bit that I can use up in my pantry downstairs. And then I have some bell peppers, and this year my bell peppers are looking really good. Look at that so far. So hopefully these do well here. I was hoping that the peppers would do well in this little area because my tree up here shades out a lot of the peak sun, and I was hoping that might create a little bit more of like a shade cloth for the peppers because I was experiencing a lot of sun scald last year that took out a lot of my bell peppers and such. But yeah, these are looking so good. And then I have a new variety over here. This is a poblano. I've never grown poblanos before, but I really wanted them so I could try to fry them and do like a stuffed poblano pepper. I've been really loving this snacking pepper variety. So this is the little peppers you find in a bag that are mixed like orange, red, and yellow. I've had some orange ones. I want to say I probably got 2 orange and 1 yellow, but they did start to change colors and they are really good. I am loving this so far. This is a variety. It's called lunchbox pepper mix or something. It's from Johnny's. You can find them there. And then I just have paprikas on the rest, and these plants have been doing really well. So this is just the Hungarian Magyar. Again, I've grown this now, gosh, for 4 or 5 years, and I've already done 1 round of paprika. Over the next few weeks I should really start seeing these peppers just take off. I always feel like I have a really like huge harvest of peppers come August, like the August time frame, but I have gotten a good amount so far already for June, which is kind of surprising. So over here in the in-ground space that I have, this is where the broccoli was, and it's going to be blank until I probably plant more cool weather crops over here. As you can see, it just shades out a lot right here. And when I went to go think of something else to plant, I decided to leave it and have more room for fall crops. If I would have planted this out, I wouldn't have had any room for extra fall crops. And I kind of want to play around with planting some of the bell star. I started off a good amount to where I could play around with this a little bit, to where trying to plant out some of the plants a lot earlier than I previously have, because they do have some heat resistibility. And with this being shaded out, I think this area might really work for this experiment. But over here, I do have all of my sweet potatoes, and I'm really excited. The sweet potatoes are really starting to take off. I'm not exactly sure what varieties these are, but this is a conventional sweet potato, and this one here is a Japanese sweet potato. You can see they're starting to climb a little bit. I'm trying to guide them on where to go, but they are filling out like crazy. I think we have roughly 4 more more months until our first average frost. So I'm really excited to see how much of this trellis will be full, or how this area really cascades over. I do have some hibiscus right here. This is a variety called Zinger hibiscus. It's a variety that you use for tea. I have harvested some of it already and I'm really excited about it. After it blooms, it forms this calyx, and you harvest that and you dry that. So that's really exciting. We drink a lot of hibiscus tea, and then that's another one of my volunteer sunnies. And then this is what's left over of the poppies. I harvested almost all of the poppies minus this little pod here and this one here. I got about 3 tablespoons of poppy seeds out of this little space. I made 2 lemon poppy seed loaves and I am just obsessed with them. So I really want to try to grow some more poppies next year. The variety of poppy I grew is the breadseed poppy. There's, I believe, 2 or 3 different ones that are known to be used for culinary purposes. And lastly, I have some dahlias over here. So far, I've really liked having the dahlias. This is a variety from Floret called Bee's Choice. And it's just a bunch of these random, really pretty colors. And I'm just loving what they're bringing to the garden. Then I have one of my elderberry plants here. This is one called Black Lace. Honestly, I did not get many berries this year. I just still have some in bags that are finishing the ripening process. But overall, a little bit disappointed in the elderberries this year, but I can't be too mad. I'm still early on and these plants are still young. It does look like I might have some hyssop that's about to bloom. This plant smells like straight up licorice, but the bees love it. And over here, this is the area where the chickens were at the beginning of the season. I finally planted this out last week. So I just threw a bunch of random zinnias that I seed saved from last year's garden because I wasn't sure if anything would really come up over here, because this area also shades out heavily because I have my 2 trees, but they're starting to pop up. I have a ton of zinnias popping up. So I will go through and I will thin out this space, but I think it's just gonna be really cool if I have a really cool zinnia patch. And then I have my other elderberry plant over here called Instant Karma. And then I have some irises over here that I planted, and I can tell I'm starting to get some new growth popping up. So that's really exciting. Well, guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me in the garden today. I hope you enjoyed seeing the garden in a little bit more detail here in the month of July. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed, because the garden in the next 4 to 6 weeks is going to be thriving and producing so much food. So you don't want to miss a thing. But thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you guys all on the next one. Bye.